There are some Thomas Wooden Railway sets that exist beyond the public consciousness, or at least the public TWR community consciousness. This is one of them. In fact, this I'd argue is one of two that really exist outside. There are other sets I will mention. The Thomas and Toby set, for instance, exists relatively outside the consciousness. I bring that up from time to time. People don't really know what I'm talking about. The basic figure 8 set. People tend to forget that that went for so long. The Thomas and James set. What the fuck was that? These are all releases that were relatively niche, released only for about a year, and typically have some sort of modifier. Thomas and Toby set was only released Australia, Europe, maybe Canada. Thomas and Rosie set, I think, is relatively similar. Other sets were released into the Tomy era, which the Tomy era we started to get really hazy. People don't really know what was here, what was there. They started throwing random things out, and as such you end up with a lot of really weird sets. But in terms of classic TWR, that is TWR up till 2002, when the entire range was changed, there are very few things that people don't know. I would argue this, and two things associated with it, are very relatively unknown. So, for those who are unaware, this set was released from 2002 to 2005, only in Europe, Australia, and I think maybe Canada. It is an evolution of the story set. That is, sets in the vein of the Thomas and Bertie's Great Race, Come Out Henry, and its direct predecessor, which was the James Goes Buzz Buzz set. In fact, the James Goes Buzz Buzz set, the European one, pioneered the book concept, which would continue to be used in this set, the Thomas and Toby set, and beyond into the Mattel era. In fact, as an interesting point of trivia, starting from the Percy Takes the Plunge story set, I believe in 96-97, there would be a story set released, well, in production, consistently, up until about 2015-2016, I believe. Or whenever Mattel stopped making them story sets, I don't know when. Because the Thomas and Toby set, for instance, it was only discontinued in 2012. You find Henrietta's in 2012. It also means that Henrietta, I believe, had actually a very long run, despite being discontinued individually pretty early on. Except you have to remember there was some other releases of Henrietta. But this is not the subject of the video, and I'm not going to get bogged down. So before we move on to the next point of business, I think it prudent to mention a couple of interesting things about this set. Firstly, from what I'm aware, this is not the translation for Trouble with Trees. And I'll get to as why in a minute. Secondly, I want you to appreciate what the fuck is going on in front of you. This is a set with Thomas and James, but it includes the posable Sir Topham Hatt, a destination I think half of the people who watch this video have never fucking heard of, and a layout that honestly is so esoteric that I'm not even convinced this set's real sometimes. This set includes 12 3.5-inch curves, 2 2-inch straights, and 2 3-inch straights. You also get a tree. Clearly this box has a whole bunch of documentation. You got the storybook, you got the instructions and all that. But, putting all that aside, this is not really the focus of the video. This is what came after. What we're talking about, I'll get to in 1 minute, because there's one other thing I want to talk about. This set, in all media that's portrayed in, is usually advertised along with an accessory pack. That accessory pack is the Advanced Roadway Pack. And some of you made me go on, well, that makes sense, it's a 2002 set. The roadway was coming out at that time. It's understandable. Which is fair, except for the fact that this set, which, as I've said, is only in Europe, Australia, and Canada, barely exists in any form of media, got its own expansion pack. Now, I don't own it, but the fact that this got an expansion pack boggles my mind. So if you have one, hit me up and we can do a deal. Because then I own the Trinity. The Trinity? Some of you may have already guessed what this set is. I have been lusting after it for ages. Ages. And that is, of course, the Trees on Track set. Now, firstly, take it in. Okay, you done taking it in? Good. I'm not, but we can continue. This set is not the rarest set ever made. It's probably pretty close. But in terms of obscurity, this is it. This, I would say, is the pinnacle of obscurity. At least for the the golden era of TWR, you cannot get any more obscure than this. Released in late 2001. Yeah, late 2001. This set, in fact, turned 22 this week. I'm not shitting you. This set was a November 2001 release. This set would have only been in production for at most a few months. I would argue that this set is actually a hell of a lot rarer than the coveted James Goes Buzz Buzz set European release from the same period. Because in terms of pictures, we have great pictures of that set. We have shit pictures of this set. In fact, my uploads to Twitter, which might have spoiled this video a little bit, are the best quality pictures I think we've ever gotten. And I took them, like, crudely. So, you get that. Going back to what I said earlier about the Bomb Hinderhaus set, that's pronounced right. Yeah, they just nicked the name from this one, so I believe the title on this set's wrong. Anyway, well, it fucking matters. I mean, who the fuck was buying this set anyway? This set is the exact same layout with the exact same characters, except it was released in 2001. Although arguably it's more boring than that because it's just the Trouble with Trees set but without the storybook. So what do you get? You get the same weird esoteric layout, same characters, which, you know, it's not bad. It is a gold dome James. It is, because it's that era, and the posable top of hat. Still not entirely sure why you get the posable stop mat. And you still get the wacky-ass destination, Trees on Track. Also, I'm sorry if I call this set Trees on the Track, because that just sounds better than Trees on Track. Difference between this and the Trouble with Trees, obviously, is the name. What's included, just the you get storybook in that one, and slightly different instructions. And the SKU. This is 9455. The Trouble with Trees set is 9458. So actually not that far off. Why they didn't just use the same SKU? I don't know. Alright? You may have noticed I haven't opened up either of these sets. I haven't showed you the contents or set up the layout. Because, why would I do that? It's pretty pointless. You know what James looks like. You know what Thomas looks like. The only thing you might not know what looks like is the Trees on Track destination. In which case, there you fucking go. You get trees, you get a sign, you swipe it, trees fall down. They're meant to be stuck in a little bit better than that, but this is old. You also notice that this mechanism doesn't really work very well. Age has not been nice to plastic components. Also, you can imagine that this thing would have just broken after like 5 seconds because, well, these trees don't inspire much confidence, and this sign, well, it just, you just lose it. Yeah, but putting that aside, yeah, kind of pointless destination, which is kind of why it didn't sell well. I think, funny enough, it only stayed around because it was in that set. Honestly, the tree is probably a better way to reenact this scene than the trees on the track. So as a set, I would say this is pretty terrible. I mean, you get some interesting characters, I'll give you that. The posable stop mat doesn't make any sense, though. Why him? I think this is something that's they did a couple of times, although very rarely. Because you'd think you'd want to... Because why would parents then go ahead and buy the posable stop hat and lady hat? They'd view that as a waste of money. So you're kind of limiting who's going to buy accessories. Furthermore, like I said, the destination's crap. Especially when it's like, yeah, you get a tree, and like, fucking, the tree's great. As I said, I would say there's like a 3 out of 10. You got Thomas, which again, people all immediately dock points because it's got Thomas. As a starter set, it fails. It's got 12 curves, for fuck's sake, and 4 straights. None of which are 6" or 4". They're all 2 or 3. 2, 3, 2, 2. So as a starter set, it fails because, A, that's more curves than you need to build a radius. So you can't even really build a different layout with the set. You're very much stuck with building the weird layout it comes with. Like I said, James is a nice addition. But he also seems kind of random here. Why James? The only thing I can think of is they rushed this set out because they realized, oh shit, this is a terrible seller, and oh shit, we've got so many of the gold dome fucking Jameses that we need to get rid of them. So they rushed them out. I don't completely believe that hypothesis. I just think they just did something weird. Or they knew this set was going to become the Trouble with Trees set. But they decided to rush it out like this anyway. Either way, what the fuck is this? I think sometimes I need to stop the video, especially in cases like this, so we just all just take a collective second to think. Why? Because the more you think about it, the more you get confused. Why? Why any of this? And I still don't have an answer. And, you know, I don't think I'll ever have an answer. I doubt we're going to find someone who worked for Learning Curve who's going to remember this. Which I guess leaves us with a poignant final point. Does this set at all deserve to be remembered? It's fallen into relative obscurity. I would argue no. I think to an extent it's better off remaining unknown. The Trouble with Trees, on the other hand, I think should be. I think this should be a footnote. I think it's actually in a decent place where it is. It doesn't make it any less cool to me. I love this. This is stupid. And you know, I'm the guy who likes stupid shit. And this is right up my alley. But, for everyone else out there, the Trouble with Trees set is a far greater proposition. A, because released for longer. B, it's typically a bit cheaper. And C, it's part of a lineage of sets whose value only keeps increasing as time goes on, because people realize how so damn cool the concept was. You get wooden railway toys with a story. And you know, that's neat. Which brings me round to the conclusion of this video. I will mention how much I paid for this, and that was too fucking much. This was $160. So I gotta kind of be happy about it, and I am. As a documenter of TWI history, I think I'm the only guy who has this fucking set. And I think someone has to have it. Someone has to talk about it. Because if no one talks about it, we forget it exists. I won't show you too much more. I plan to scan in a lot of stuff later. Here's the instructions, very briefly. Also, it came with international character cards, which is kind of cool. Both 2000 dated. That's sort of how those cards go. I think I'll end on one point, though. And that's, don't let anyone tell you on the internet what's cool and what's good value and what's anything, you know? Because I'm telling you two very conflicting things here. I'm telling you this set is not worth your time, but it was worth mine. My advice is, if you want a really weird, wacky, random shit set, this is the set for you. Because, yeah. But not everyone thinks that way, and I don't think everyone should. Happy collecting to all of you. I'll be back with another video at some point. And bye for now.